Okay, there we go. Okie dokie. Hello, everyone. Yay. Okay, so firstly, welcome to the Rainbow Center at UConn. So lovely to have all three of you here. This is going to be great. So firstly, just want to do some introductions. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your college experience if you attended.
Sure. Who do you want to start with?
Right.
Okay, so my name is Lillian Sundgren. I currently am working for Enterprise Mobility, the well-known rental company, but I work on the dealership side. So I work in our car sales division. I did go to college. I went to University of New England in Biddeford, Maine. Absolutely loved it, adored it. Huge fan of that area in Maine. It was right on the water, so there were a lot of different people going for biology and degrees that you could use the beachfront for. I went in undecided, so didn't actually utilize that beachfront except for studying, but ended up leaving with 2 degrees, one in education and one in political science, and a minor in women and gender studies. While I was there, I was also an RA for 3 years. And I think that's a big reason why I loved college so much, because that really opened my eyes to a lot of different people, and also kind of the management track that I didn't know I was going to be on pretty early on, like in my teenage years into early 20s.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Don't think I could be an RA for 3 years. Goodness gracious.
It was a lot, but by senior year, I had it down.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go next. So, hi everyone, my name is Dave Blumenthal. I am a process engineer with Henkel. I've been with Henkel for about 4.5 years. I went to school at the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities, where I did chemical engineering and chemistry bachelor's degrees. Loved my time there. And then with Henkel, I also lead one of the LGBTQ plus employee resource groups, which I talk about a little later.
Yep, that's one of the questions.
Well, hello. My name is Jonathan Espinosa. I am from Mexico City. So I did a college here. I'm from a university called UNAM, and my major is in accounting, so I'm an accountant. And then I did 1 semester also in Argentina just to study abroad. And then I moved to the US, and I am here working in Henkel in finance. So all the numbers and all the projections and forecasting,
Yeah.
I am helping the consumer brands in the supply chain finance area. That's it.
Amazing. So I think all three of you have sort of touched on this a little bit in terms of your college experience, but how did you end up in the position that you are now?
Same direction. Or do you want to kind of go this way?
Surprise me.
I guess for me, I kind of had some evolving things because I did chemistry and chemical engineering. So I started off with roles more towards chemistry because that was kind of more like my internships. And then this opportunity came up with Henkel, and it was kind of a blend of chemistry and engineering just at the scale I would work on. So that's where I went.
Nice.
I guess I can go next
Yeah.
with that. Never ever did I think I'd be selling cars when I was in college. That was not on my radar at all. I went in specifically undecided because I wanted to see what spoke to me when I finished my first year. And I've always been drawn to education, so I immediately chose that. And then political science kind of just fell into my lap. I was taking a lot of courses that it just made sense to dual major. I was already halfway there. And I ended up being able to blend those very nicely with my thesis and my student teaching. But when I got to student teaching, that was when I said, this is not for me.
Right.
I student taught in a 4th grade classroom, loved the kids, loved my time, but I knew that that area was not where I wanted to be. So I kind of started from square one again a little bit. When I moved back to Connecticut from Maine, I started working for Yankee Candle. Actually enjoyed that a lot. And there is a bit of the sales approach there. They are selling you the candles when you come in. There's like diffusers at the door that has you smelling the candles as soon as you come in. But from there, I found Enterprise just on LinkedIn. I was like, you know what? I need somewhere that has a structure, corporate structure that I know I have some upward mobility with. And I have certainly found that with Enterprise. I started with the rental branches. And like I kind of said before, there's a lot about Enterprise people don't know about, including the different divisions. There's a truck rental division where you can rent and purchase box trucks, like the big guys you see on the highway. Then there's, of course, the division I'm in, which is all retail sales that people just simply don't know about yet. So there's a lot of different tracks that you can take, and that appealed a lot to me.
So I'm an accountant, and then I started to build my career in Henkel just by exploring the areas of an accounting. And I am not a tax kind of boy, so I didn't went to that place. But I did enjoy like all this finance, corporate finance, like how is like to make the decisions of, hey, we need to invest in this, or we need to make a budget for that area or something like that. So I started Henkel, yes, at the very basis of an accounting, just like doing all the bookings and everything. But then I jumped into more the like business point of view of finance. So this is what I like. I like at the very end how my work is impacting outside. Like people are seeing the prices of our products. So I am somehow like behind the scenes of those prices. So that's what I really like on finance, coming from accounting, like knowing the bookings into like what is impacting outside of my company.
Right. Amazing. Kind of switching up gears completely in terms of the rest of the questions, but like totally nothing to do with you. But are all three of you out in the workplace? And if so, what was your process for becoming out? Or if you aren't, what are some of your reasons?
That's a good question.
I will change. So at the very beginning, I was not completely out. However, there was one initiative of doing like one ERG in our company. One of those was the LGBT IQ plus one. And so there was like, oh, maybe we can start to do these ERGs. And I proposed like, yes, I can somehow lead the initiative. And there was like a massive mail coming like, oh, Jonathan will lead that ERG, and that was my out situation in the company. So for sure, I'm not omitting that part of myself, but that was like the massive out situation. That now it's somehow is like me sharing like what was my weekend about or something like that. It's for me easier also to share. Oh, I went for my partner with my boyfriend or something like that. So it somehow brought my authenticity, myself in the company, because before it was like more limited somehow on sharing my activities outside my work. So that was my vision.
You're up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I kind of similar in a way where I don't think I've ever, I would say I'm out of work. I haven't really ever hit it, but for me, I think most of where I do lead one of the LGBTQ employee resource groups at our Rocky Hill office, so that certainly does broadcast it in some ways, I think. But I think kind of like what Jonathan was touching on, a lot of it, it's kind of more of like the little everyday coming out for me, because I feel like I've kind of always been, so it's just when I'm meeting someone new, I'm talking to somebody, if they like assume like girlfriend or something, you know, and then having to be like, oh no, like boyfriend, it's like just having to do those maybe little corrections. That's kind of been more so my experience. Just I haven't had it probably what I'd say like a big moment, but yeah, lots of day-to-day interactions. Yeah, less small talk.
Yeah.
Kind of that way.
I actually started working at Enterprise in a relationship with a man, and then I came out during my time at Enterprise. So like even college experience, I was straight presenting, also thought I was straight. Then a whole lot of things happened. I won't go into any details on that, but I'm currently in a fantastic relationship. But I guess it is kind of a coming out story with Enterprise, because we have a group called Women in Leadership, and I was selected to do a presentation on how I found Enterprise, my story with Enterprise so far, and where I wanted to go. And in that, I was doing a little bit about myself, and I put my girlfriend in the slide. And nobody at this event, it's probably ranges between 40 to 55 people, knew that. They all had like met my ex and had seen him around. So that was kind of a shocker. But immediately, like I had people coming up to me and saying, thank you so much for like including her in your presentation. And then from there, we had a ERG start. It's called Enter Pride.
Love
And
it.
that has been that we're actually celebrating 2 years next month of actually like being around. And I've started taking a higher role in that. But now it is kind of like a known thing. But there was a bit of an event, I guess.
Amazing. So because this is just such a hot topic, I'm going to go straight into ERGs. Can you touch on your experience in an ERG and or other resources that you've had access to in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, I'll bounce right into Enterpride. It's been incredible. Just the community that you find that isn't just in your day-to-day office is amazing. Being able to talk about your life outside of work with people who understand certain aspects that other people don't, as well as just the camaraderie that you create with, at least in our ERG, people from those different divisions of enterprise can come to those events. So people that I wouldn't necessarily see ever that might be in a different division, I actually get to see great relationships with, which is just fantastic.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I think for me, I joined Henkel in March of 2020, which was not the best time in the world to move states and join a new company. And that spring, I had just kind of been moving around in the company interwebs and found out that there was like a Henkel Pride group and got in touch with the person that was leading it at the time. And then we wanted to do something fun to kind of meet people and organize something. We had organized like a step challenge for our office. That was like Step into Pride Month or something. So it was like a socially distanced fun event. And I actually got to meet like probably like 100 of my coworkers that, I had never met in the office before in that time. So it was a really great way to really build that community. And a lot of them are in groups outside of my initial group because my group that I work in is kind of a small group. So it's been really great. And then with that, just kind of being able to build the connection in the community too, because that's one of the big pillars of like the Henkel Pride group. Like we partner a lot with like Out Film or like Pride in the Park with Triangle Community Center in Norwalk. And it's just great being able to kind of get involved both at work and in the community, really kind of help expand the circle a little bit.
I would just add that also is having been in an ERG is also bringing you some skills that you didn't like work in your day-to-day activities at work, because like creating an independent like all the like the budget situation to do the event and everything that usually maybe it's outside of your work activities. So this is also on top, like even like yet expanding the safe space in our company, but also like bringing you this extra value on having events to increase our awareness of the community, or even like the soft skills of creating the events. That's another quick win of being in the ERGs.
Yeah, I can imagine. So in terms of your workplace itself, how did you determine that your workplace was inclusive, and why did you choose to work at the company that you are at? Because I know you mentioned that you're from South Dakota, and I cannot imagine the transition from South Dakota to Connecticut in terms of anything. So just how did you know that you were going to be in a safe space at the workplace?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think for me, it really started in the recruiting process, like looking at job postings, for example, do they have sexual orientation in there and their non-discrimination thing like explicitly listed? There's also the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index. And, you can kind of, it's a survey that'll like benchmark different corporations against each other. So kind of looking up there, and also like looking at the company's like DEI page on there, kind of about us. So I definitely looked into it before I went, because I didn't want to be in a place. I wasn't going to work somewhere where I was going to be in the closet, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, I liked that stuff that those resources were available to look into.
Sure. So kind of different because it wasn't at the forefront of my mind when I was applying for jobs. My biggest thing was I need a job that has some type of way for me to get promoted, rather than just a retail store. But I think the switch where I started really paying attention and thinking to myself, is this an inclusive environment? Was after that presentation and getting just an absolute outpouring of mostly just love from my coworkers and not an ounce of hatred, which was incredible. And then from there, having the ability to just join Enterpride and being able to just be there as a part of the group, and being able to bring other new hires into that fold as well is something that I've taken on now that I feel as though I'm more of a pillar of that group now.
I will do the same. Like when I was started to look into the market, that was not my first option because even I was somehow new on the topic and like didn't know like all the full advance that the AI is now like so on point and so aware like throughout the college community. But now I would say like if I ever like just go into the market, that would be my definitely like looking into ERGs, like the non-discrimination policy and everything. My starting point was not, but being in the ERGs, I am now contributing to make this like real, right? But at the starting point, I was not even didn't know what the EI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Amazing answers. In terms of being at the workplace itself, if an issue were to arise where you felt discriminated against or harassed at work, would you feel comfortable going to HR and getting the proper help?
In our case, 100%. I would feel absolutely comfortable. For me individually, that stems from knowing faces in our HR department well, because they put themselves out there since day one when I was hired. But even for people who are hired newly to the company, immediately you're greeted with a lot of like seriousness around that topic and resources that you can use. The number one being for new hires, just an anonymous line that you can call and stay completely anonymous, because at that point you don't have a chance to put names to faces yet. Now I have great working relationships with people in our HR department, so I feel super comfortable. But in that in-between time, when you're newly hired to when you actually get to know those people, there are ways that you can report something. And that was something that I felt comfortable with doing, especially with that resource of an anonymous line. That was really important to me.
Yeah, I would echo that too. We have a similar setup with a compliance line for people that are able to. And yeah, I would feel super comfortable if something happened. I mean, we all have to sign, policies and procedures and say we're going to follow Henkel's values when we work there. And if someone isn't doing that, then I think a big part of working is being able to, and if they don't want to, there are other options. Yeah.
My only point that I will add, I believe we have the same somehow base of policy, but also is like there's opportunity to speak up with when someone is not like speaking. If you see the like this discrimination, like if you're in the table or something like that, like I mean, our company is encouraged to say it like for the people that is like suffering somehow, because sometimes even like maybe the person didn't realize that this is a discrimination topic. But we have the culture of like speaking up and like somehow protecting our colleagues in that sense.
Really good to hear, honestly. It's a comfort. And then in terms of going, I guess touching a little bit more on HR, I'm sure once you were assessing the workplace in general, do you get the same benefits as, say, a cisgender employee in terms of parental leave, in terms of if you were trans and needed surgery? Would you say that your individual companies offer the same benefits based off of your assessment?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I really only follow the benefits that are kind of like pertain to me personally. But one of the things that we to help out with as the ERG is help out with the HRC's CEI survey that they do every year. And those questions go really in depth into benefits and analyzing like, okay, who is this benefit offered to? And I'm pretty sure Henkel has like gotten all the points in the past years for having parity between like same and different sex benefits, or in the benefits section. They've changed the survey a little bit in the past few years, but Henkel's always gotten a good score there. So I might not follow every benefit, but yeah, I think Henkel's benefits are very inclusive.
Yes, and I think they are going into the direction. I believe it's a journey because this now parental leave. We have a new policy, or HR has a new policy that is not even telling like mother, father. They are like I forgot the term, but there is like a
Caregiver.
yes, something like that. So even it is extended now, even if you're adopting or something like that. So there's a journey that the Henkel is doing, because like 3 years ago you didn't even talk about the topic, right? So I believe we are in the right path. I would say that.
100%.
And I think too, just being on the ERG, we can help kind of advocate for benefits that we think are missing, like because we get to interact with, like we know the head of benefits for North America, for our company. So sometimes they'll reach out like, hey, we're looking at this, like, can you look this over? Does this make sense? Is this, suit your needs? Like, what are we missing? And that's something that I really appreciate.
That's awesome. I'm similar, and I really am just like electing the benefits that apply to me. But we're lucky in that sense with our ERG that our head of HR is on the board of it. So if there's anything we see missing from our employee base, immediate pipeline, and we can bring it up and say, hey, this is something that we're hearing is not, consistent across the board.
That's super convenient. I think all three of you have significantly answered this question based off of your answers, but just for the sake of asking, do you feel represented sufficiently in the workplace, and is the environment overall supportive?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like, especially like in engineering, I feel like sometimes it might be a bit more of a conservative profession, but like, for example, like my boss is gay and has like dyed red hair and earrings. So it's like, just like seeing that, and it's just, I feel very comfortable. And then just in the people I interact with at work, we have a lot of, as a pride group, we buy a lot of rainbow stuff for the office. So, seeing lots of little rainbow Henkel flags around the cubicles, it's, yeah, nice to see.
That is so awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I feel represented. I think even if I wasn't part of the ERG, I think I would still feel that way.
Yeah.
Having been in a couple different branches now with a lot of different people, even myself having that PowerPoint where I came out to a whole group of people, that didn't really faze me as something where I'd receive backlash, because I had seen other branch managers that were similar to me. So yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Awesome.
I was just the same. Now, what we are trying to do also in our ERGs is like to go even beyond, because usually we have this misconception of only the Pride Month celebration or something like that. We want to be like on a yearly basis, because I mean, we are not only gay or lesbian in June or whichever month is the Pride Month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to like as a normal basis, like a normal situation. So yes, I feel represented, and also I am pushing to like, this is not a month activity, but this is like my life, right?
100%.
That is so important.
Yeah.
I'm happy you said that.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And then in terms of my final question, what advice do you have for LGBTQ plus students coming into the workplace?
Nice one. Thinking about this question, I don't want to say something that's just like advice I'd give anybody. But I think what was really important to me was, if I didn't have prior representation, becoming that representation myself for other people, especially someone who might be too afraid to be able to be comfortable in the workplace as themselves. Because I have seen the more that I'm comfortable with myself, other people coming out of the woodwork with that. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice. It's definitely a hard thing to do, because you have all these fears that come along with it. But once you're in that spot, other people will feel comfortable enough to get there as well.
And I would just echo that because usually you are building the safe space like by yourself, right?
Yeah.
And people somehow this is like echoing across the community. And yes, it can be scary to be yourself because you have like, oh, maybe I will be judged. Maybe I will have like misconception if I am out in my work area or something like that. But I believe like before, like I speak for myself when I was a kid and I was like in a closet living like two different lives, and it was so difficult for like to live two different life in one just body, right? So like my advice would be like, yes, it can be scary, but there are people that is working like to expand this safe space. Like don't be afraid of being yourself because this will be echoing and we will try to do this domino effect. Like this will be the like safe space, like
Yeah.
expanding our both.
I guess I would just add on to, you're going to spend a lot of time at work. I think you want to be your most authentic self so you can have, kind of be the most comfortable. You don't want to be spending, 40 plus hours a week feeling comfortable or like you're somewhere else. You want to, yes, you can be that representation in both the community, but lost my train of thought there.
No.
but yeah, just be happy.
And just to also mention what Abe was saying, that when talking about DEI, there's a lot of information like human rights campaign, like investigate the company because yes, people have ERGs, the human rights campaign index. So there is a lot of information on like to give you guidance on like which enterprise I will be safe, or I will be seeing people like us that bringing this safe space into that company,
Yeah,
right?
we did an entire panel on determining if the workplace is inclusive or not, and we referenced the Human Rights Campaign, we referenced Glassdoor, we referenced going through like
Yes.
every single review possible in terms of like looking up where the company donations go and if that's inclusive or not. So yeah, trust me, everything you mentioned, I've heard it before. But yeah, if you have any final thoughts.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Left the final line of be happy. That's a great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Got it.